Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how you can make this larger wooden Christmas tree. This one is 42 inches tall. I have other videos showing how to make the 34-inch version and the 27-inch version. So I'll show you closer up what this looks like. This is the large version, 42 inches tall. To build this, you need a total of 12 feet of lumber, 2x4 lumber. So I've got an 8-foot piece and I have a scrap 4-foot piece. We need 2.5-inch wood screws, drill, impact driver, tape measure, and a miter saw. I'm going to show plans to build this tree. You can pause the video and reference them throughout. I've also labeled the tree, all the different pieces, with letters. This should help simplify it as we're building. The way I'm going to build this, I'm going to start by cutting the top 2 pieces. We're going to cut 2 pieces at a time and then screw the tree together as we go. So I'm going to work on cutting A and B. Let's take our 8-foot piece of 2x4, move over to the miter saw. I've got a miter saw here and we need to cut angles on this piece of wood. So we're going to be cutting a 22.5-degree angle to start. At the back of the saw we have a bevel. So I'm going to change this to 22.5 degrees. I'll bring the camera in and show that to you. And my saw is set at 0, 90 degrees here. So we're going to keep this at 0 and we've changed the back bevel to 22.5 degrees. It's set to 22.5 degrees. The saw is on a slight bevel. We want to waste as little material as possible. So now I've got this cut. I'm going to flip this over. By flipping it, I can hook my tape onto here and we are going to measure out 18 inches. Making a mark at 18 inches, which I'll show you here. As you can see, the 22.5-degree cut, I've got the tape hooked on the edge and I have a mark at 18 inches. Now we want to change the bevel on this to 45 degrees. So I've got it set at 45 degrees. We're going to make this cut now with the saw at the 45-degree bevel. Just like that, we have our cut. Now we're going to take this piece, we're going to flip it so the tip of the angle is up. We are going to mark 16 inches. I'll show you what this looks like. So as you can see, I'm hooked on the long point of the angle. I've got 16 inches marked and we want to change the bevel back to 22.5 degrees and we're going to lock it there because this is the angle we will be using for all the rest of the cuts. So now I can make that cut at 16 inches. And we have our 2 pieces that we can screw together. Now we've got the 2 pieces we cut, A and B. We're going to take the 2 45-degree and we want to line them up like that to make a perfect pyramid. So we want this to be nice and flush. We're going to use our 2.5-inch wood screws and we want to pre-drill this. By pre-drilling, it pulls it all in nice and tight. We can screw this together. So just like that, we've got the top of the pyramid. As you can see, we've got our piece nice and flush in line. I've left the piece in the same orientation it was when we cut it. We're going to take our tape, we're going to hook the tape onto this edge, and we are going to mark 14 inches. So I'll show you what that looks like. So you can see that's our 22.5-degree angle that we had cut. We've made a mark at 14 inches. Our saw is still set at 22.5 degrees. Now we can make this cut. And we are going to measure and mark the exact same piece, again at 14 inches. And we can cut this. We've got these two pieces we just cut. We want the tips to face up, and we are going to put them in like so. As you can see, there's an overlap here. We need to measure and mark the overlap. This is 2 inches. So using our tape measure, we are going to hook it on to the inside, and we're going to mark 2 inches. And then I like to use a square to transfer that line across, just so that there's no confusion. This is going to sit flush like so. I'll show you closer up what that looks like. Our tape measure hooked. We are hooked on the top of that angle, and we have our mark at 2 inches. So then we are going to take that, slide it up so that you can no longer see that line, and then we'll screw it on. Again, we're going to pre-drill, put 2 screws in each piece, make sure the pieces are flush on the top, and you have that 2-inch overlap. Next, we're going to move on, cut part E and F, which are the exact same. C, D, E, F are all the exact same measurements. So we're going to move on and make that same 14-inch cut for 2 more pieces. Again, these 2 pieces are the exact same as the 2 pieces we had just cut. So we're measuring from the short side of the bevel, 14 inches, make the cut on 2 pieces, and then we can take them over and install them. Pieces we cut, orient so the peaks are facing up, and then they go on the tree just like that. We need to mark our 2-inch overlap. We'll mark 2 inch. This is the exact same as what we did on the last 2 pieces. I'm going to transfer my line across, and then we can screw these on. When screwing the pieces together, we're going to screw from the inside of the tree. This way you won't see the exposed screw heads. And then we can cut G and H. Now, we've got our 22.5-degree angle. We're going to flip this, and we want to measure 27 inches. So we're going to take this, measure 27 inch. I'll show you what that looks like. Flip that so the tip is up, still 22.5 degrees, and we mark 27 inches. We can make this cut. And we are going to flip this again, measure and mark 14 inches. Again, we're hooked on there, and we've marked 14 inch. Okay, we have the pieces we just cut. Orient them so they are long side of the angles at the bottom, and then we want to find the middle of both pieces. So half of 27 inches is 13.5. We can mark that. We're measuring from the bottom, and then half of 14 inches is 7. We can mark that. We want to take the bottom piece, and we want to transfer that 7-inch mark all the way up so that we have our measurement on the top piece of wood. And then we can line them up and they're perfectly in the middle. We're hooked onto the long part of the angle. We marked 7 inches. And then for this board, again, we're hooked onto the long part of the angle and we marked 13.5 inches. We got the 2 pieces perfectly lined up. First thing I like to do is screw them together. To screw it together, I typically use 3 screws, 1 in the middle, 1 on each end, top and bottom. We can now shift that up, screw the base to our tree. So we want to pre-drill this again. And we want this to be a nice sharp angle that lines up flush. Sometimes you may need to adjust this, pull the tree one way or the other just to get that to line up, but there should be enough movement that you can easily shift it around. Put our 2 screws on. Just like that, we're all done. We've got our 42-inch tree. If you have any questions about the build, leave them down below in the comment section and I will try to reply to them.